And begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So if we could begin by, there haven't been any notifications of any changes to the minutes, so I assume they're going to be good because that was the procedure that we set up. So could I have a motion to accept the minutes of December 19th? Those?
Yeah. Is Larry taking minutes? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Want to make sure somebody was.
He's delighted about it too. As we all have.
I felt the same way, Larry. I was lucky last week.
He's going to be fairly lucky this week too.
Who was second?
Who seconded it? Mary. Okay, so nobody sent me anything, so I assume there's no discussion. Is that true? Then all in favor of accepting the minutes of December 19th?
Aye.
Aye.
Larry? That's unanimous. Okay, and then the same motion for December 27th. Jim, you want to do it?
So moved.
Second.
And second. Makes it easy to copy and paste the seconders.
Sure does.
Any changes, additions? I haven't been notified of any. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you very much, Jack and Phyllis, for doing the other ones. So now our big thing is to finalize our presentation for the public hearing. And what I'm suggesting is that, we have a formatted one that's up on the screen, and then I'm going to remove as much of the formatting as possible to save on ink for the papers that get passed out. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Okay.
Will you do something like what I did, like a handout thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we should. I don't know if we want to have all the notes, the lines for notes next to it.
Yeah, unfortunately, if you want 3 per page, that's the only way it comes. You could get 6 per page or 4 per page.
Yeah.
And I think they're about the same size.
Yeah. So what are you suggesting, the 6 per page or 4 per page?
6 per page, there's plenty of space for people to make notes underneath.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Annie, I'm looking at what you sent, and there's a whole bunch of blanks in here.
Really?
The latest?
Are there?
Unless I have to, do I have to open it with?
You have to open it with Google
Slides?
Sheets or with PowerPoint, whichever one. You have to open it
Maybe
with
that
Google.
was just like a preview kind of thing.
Could be.
I was just going to say, I opened mine.
With Google Sheets?
Actually, it's Google
Slides.
Google Slides.
Google Slides, yes, yes.
Okay, because mine had some of those slides had very little text on them.
Okay, okay. So the first one, we're good, I think. The second one is, Cheryl has passed out something here for a substitute for that.
The overview of the budget proposal presentation.
Yes.
I believe the intent of that was, as Larry had said, make it like a table of contents of what tonight would be presented. But this looks like the budget process, not the budget, not the proposal presentation.
I think this is what we were talking about, that we wanted to put it in front of everything to give them an idea how we were going to, how the budget is actually done. And then we give them an introduction to how we're doing it. And that way, is that?
So, so what you're saying is basically what's there is kind of how what the process is, and what you're suggesting is basically a table of contents of what we're going to have in the presentation.
Well, that's what Larry had
that's what
said.
I think we should do. Is the process of the preparation process should be above before we actually start talking about the budget. So if they got any questions, that would be answered at that point. Then when we actually get in to start talking about the budget, there's the table of contents where they can follow down and hopefully stay up with us.
Okay, so basically what I'm hearing you say is that you think both those slides should be there
Yep.
in some form. So going through kind of, here's the process of how we got to this budget tonight.
Yeah, we got, everything that we've got here is what we need. I think it's just a matter of where you want to put it.
Yeah, yep. Okay, okay, that's fine with me. Is that good with everybody?
Yeah, sounds
Just leave them
reasonable,
both?
yeah.
Okay. And then,
Change the first one to overview of budget process.
right, instead, process, and then overview of this presentation, basically. Here's what we're going to be presenting,
Yep.
okay?
Before we go any further, I wish we could have projected it, because
I wish we could too.
these things look very small. The font is very small, and I think in that big auditorium, people are not going to be able to see.
Excuse me,
Well, actually, the
we are
fonts-
going to give them out one of these that
Yes.
represents everything that's on the screen.
Yeah, and the fonts are 18 to 20 to 24. I mean, they're not small. Just so
They
you know.
are if you're projecting them, not if you're looking at a piece of paper.
Are you
But if
worried
you're-
about folks
no,
watching
no,
video
no.
from home?
They're bigger when you project them.
Got to expand for distance, I think. I don't know.
Not if you're in the audience. It's going to be very, very small. It's going to be very difficult to see any of these. So people will be here and they'll be there and they'll be having to go back and forth. I just think everything needs to be enlarged, and especially when we do the any numbers. These are just really, really small.
Well, it's a shame we can't put it up on the wall. I think that you'll find that it's going to be fine because we did it last year and we've done it every year and it's always been fine for people to see. So, I don't think so, but next week when we do the public hearing, that'll be something that we'll be able to see.
My personal feeling is that people are going to follow along with the handout.
Yeah.
More so than anything else. I hate looking up at the screen to try to figure it out. No matter what, I think the handout will do just great.
Okay.
Well, then if we do that, then we're going to have to do bigger handouts, because this is 6 per page and you can barely see these numbers on those charts where you have multiple numbers.
Well, yeah,
Really, really small.
Well, here's a suggestion. How about if we see how it looks next week, and then for the deliberative, if we need to do bigger, 2 a page or something like that, then we can,
And we can ask some
Then we
input
could
from
do
the
it.
audience.
yeah.
What do they think?
quite frankly, if you get rid of the graphic that takes up a third of the page,
Yeah.
that says overview of budget proposal presentation,
Yeah.
it could then,
Expand
Yeah.
the text.
it could then be a lot enlarged.
Okay, I will see what I can do
This
about.
is what it looks like,
about
6 per
that.
page.
If you see down a couple of pages, there's one that says budget process.
And look at these numbers.
Hang on, no, I'm not there. Hang on a second.
Oh, this one right here, okay. This one here you're talking about, Jim?
Yeah, page 5.
Yeah,
That would be perfectly legible.
yeah.
These are 24 on this page 2 that's up here right now.
But this is what you have there, and I did 6 per page.
Mhm.
You can't read these numbers at all on the chart. This is a draft format, but these numbers are just tiny.
I will do
we
what
want
I
the-
can, Cheryl, to get these bigger, okay? And we'll see how it comes, how it does at the public hearing, and whether it's, we can't preview it right now, unfortunately, so. I can also see if I can get in next week and sample a presentation in the auditorium and just see what's coming up, so.
Well, I did redo some of the slides, and I did make bigger fonts. So I have them here if you want to use the ones that I did.
Is there a reason why they're not on the team drive for all of us to see?
Because I brought them here tonight. Last week, when we got together, we didn't use the team drive.
Okay.
We had paper handouts, so I thought everybody would be able to see the paper handouts.
Okay, that's good reason. I can't,
I am not seeing on that pie chart, and again, I don't know. To be honest, this Google stuff, I'm not finding very user-friendly.
Well, there is that. That's for sure.
I can't see any numbers at all on that slide with the pie chart.
Okay, well, we're not at that one yet. So if we could just go through, I hear what you're saying about seeing if, first of all, test it to see what the story is. Secondly, to see what can be printed. I will try and get them bigger, okay? If that's a consensus that I'm hearing, I'll do the best I can with that. So then the budget process one, Jim, you were talking about?
Yeah, Jim, you were talking.
That's listed there. There's another one on the next page called budget process.
Duties of the budget committee, and then number 5, budget process?
Exactly. So either we leave in 3 or we leave in 5, but one of them needs to go away.
Okay.
One is budget process. The other is the
You're
table
absolutely
of
right.
context for the.
Okay, so let's just take out 2, because as you say, the one that's marked 5 here is basically the same thing.
Exactly.
Okay, good.
Do we want to carry that note with what's that, slide number 5? That says proposed budget does not include cost for contracts and other warrant articles.
Wait a minute, this budget process is one that you did, Cheryl?
Yes.
Okay, that's not noted here, I see.
Oh, okay.
So that's why it isn't. So basically move 2 down below the duties of the budget committee is what you're suggesting. Is that right? And I'll look at, what that says. And then okay, so basically you're suggesting that we get rid of a bunch of these slides, it looks like. I'm a little confused on what you've got here because, okay, because the one I've got is budget process, says student superintendent request and school board recommendation. And I'm not seeing that here.
On what I handed out,
Yeah,
that's slide number 5. Principals and department heads create budgets, superintendent reviews and recommends. School board reviews superintendent's recommendation. School board makes a proposal, budget committee makes a proposal. Then I don't know what we wanted to call that when the school board and the budget committee, I think Charlton didn't like the word collaboration.
Because the budget is not a collaboration.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
What did we call that for what we did?
I happen to prefer, if this is okay with everybody, I prefer moving slide 2 down, trying to make it bigger, and going through the overview of the process. And then I'd like to get into the process, because basically what I feel comfortable with is that when we talk about the school board recommendation, we're talking about what the superintendent and the school board recommended to us, and then we're going to talk about the changes that we made to it. So that's what this budget process one, which is the current slide number 4, which is the superintendent made a request, and then the school board recommended to the budget committee that same amount, the increase of $964,000 or 2.74%.
Which is your slide 4.
Which is my slide 4.
That was the same amount.
Huh?
Oh, it's just saying to show.
Well,
it's
no,
not
the one that Cheryl
describing-
suggested is her slide 5 is basically the same as my slide 2.
No, it's, slide 2?
Yeah. The one that you said to delete, it's basically the same as your slide 2, as my slide 2. Your slide 5.
No. It's much more broken down with how the budget got started and where it went along.
Do we want to go that deep into detail with this? Just.
And I did not include the voting on the deliberative session or the voting at the polls. It's more about how the budget number that they're going to see tonight came to be.
Okay. I don't care, whatever you guys want.
You're saying, what do you want to make for a change? She's, on Cheryl's, removing number 2?
Instead of number 2, she's suggesting putting number 5 in, the one that she created.
Yeah.
In that spot?
Yeah. So it would be the title, the overview of what we're going to do tonight, tell them what we're going to tell them, going through the duties of the budget committee, then the budget preparation process. And
But I think 2 and 5 are completely different.
well, yeah, and what is being suggested right now is substituting 5 basically for 2, instead of going through the whole thing on that one, and then pick it up later. Kind of, here's where we are, here's the beginning, here's what you're going to see right now. Is that good? Okay, then in the process, I wanted to get to numbers next, so that would be the, okay, I want to put the number 4 in the budget process, that the superintendent made a request for a budget, and the school board recommendation was that same budget. It's a very quick slide. I want that in there, if that's okay with everybody.
I think that has to be there.
And then the next one is, and this doesn't show up on the Google Docs, but the pie chart does have all those numbers. I took the numbers from the superintendent's book and, put in all the percentages and stuff like that. And I have made those bold. I can make them, I have made them bigger too. On this one, you can't see it right now, but I have made them bigger. I'll try and make them bigger yet. It's a good point, Cheryl, that you can't see, you can't read what those percentages are.
Sometimes they give you an option of putting a legend on the side.
Mm-hmm.
So the pie chart would only have the colors, but you could see the numbers more easily if it's listed on the side. I don't know if your chart
It does.
maker has
It does have that possibility. I'll play with that and make the numbers larger, and the numbers and labels larger, one way or the other. The next one.
That's your slide 5, the pie chart.
Yeah, the pie chart is slide 5. And then number 6, did you suggest taking that out, Cheryl? I don't see it here.
Number 6, that is there.
It's your slide 11.
Yeah, it's 11. I thought it would be good to put the history earlier on. And the way I did the history, the slide number 6 on page 2, was I put the years first, so you could kind of see the progression. So the actual expenditures, and then the current year, 2018-19, and there's the numbers, and we wanted to, if we could put the percentages in there of the changes, and then
I'd rather walk it through as a story, if that's okay with you. I'd rather go through the story instead of doing it as you're suggesting. I think we'll get the information out either way, but I feel more comfortable with it being a story. Here's kind of what happened. So I'd rather keep it in the order that it's in, unless there's a strong objection to the reason that it's there.
Well, those numbers, you got to make those bigger. There's no way they're going to see those numbers. They're just way too small.
Well, again, we will look and see what we can do. There is just so much room on a slide,
Well, if you have to make it 2 slides and just flip through the slides quickly. I mean, the whole reason people come is to see the numbers. If they're going to be struggling to see the numbers, I don't think they're going to be happy about the
Quite
presentation.
honestly, the one thing I would say is get rid of the graphics. Allow the slide to actually be the full screen. And I mean, there are huge gaps in it. You know, there's a huge waste of space on the page.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's very pretty, but
Yeah.
I don't think
Well,
people
yeah, I
come
was
to
just
see
gonna say,
pretty.
It's pretty, but it's not helpful. Because I'm assuming that what Cheryl's handed out is what it will look like in printed form. And quite frankly, it if it's up on the screen but they can't read it here, don't want people spending an awful lot of time having to write the numbers in themselves.
If we did 6 slides per page, that's what people would see. I'm giving them to you because I know you have a vision. So you're the best.
Well, yeah, there's no way I can read
I know.
that.
Yeah.
This one is barely legible.
If you do 3 per page and take out the lines for
Yeah.
notes, can you expand that dialogue box? No?
No, it'd have to be 2, and I'm not
Yeah.
even sure that 2 is an option that they have, unless maybe you could do 2 on a larger size page and then make it into.
Here's another
A
thing.
horizontal page?
We've only got 30 prints that we want to show, 30 slides.
Right.
Put one on each side of the page. That gives you 15 sheets of paper.
Yeah, but you're talking times 100, so that's 15.
That's $5. They say it's about 2 cents a page to print, black and white. So you get a ream of paper.
Yeah.
Everybody could see it. It'd be big enough for everybody to see. And we waste more money than that in this district, let's be
Yeah.
honest.
We do. It's a good idea.
Yeah.
It's a
That
good
way
idea
then
because, I
everybody
mean,
can
That's
see.
the problem, that
We-
eliminates the small print.
That, boom,
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, I like it. That's good.
What do you think, Mary?
I agree.
Yeah, yeah, I think we,
You know, it just is a
Well, I
major
think at least-
concern because I agree with everybody. If it's too small, I'm not going to pay attention to it because I can't see it either.
Right.
And could you set
Exactly. And if you can't read it there,
You're not going to see it on the screen either.
exactly.
Okay.
And one of the other things is,
is it landscape or portrait? Could you do it
Either way.
Either way,
Whichever
yeah.
way is the best way to do
whichever
it.
way the dialogue box fits in and expands
yeah,
to
I mean,
utilize
you
more
might actually
space?
fit 2 on a page. One of the things is tinted backgrounds.
I can't see.
No, I took all the
Yeah.
printed, for that, I've taken, that's what I said in the beginning, I've taken out all of that and made it black and
Oh,
white.
okay.
So there's no color, there's no shading, there's nothing. It's a plain vanilla for the pass out
In that
because I
case,
don't
you-
want to waste
You
ink.
might be able to fit 2 of those per page.
You know, take a look at it and see.
Okay, good. Good.
I think that would be the fastest way to correct that problem, and then everybody could see. Because like you said, like Cheryl said, if you can't see it, then we're wasting the time and effort to get it printed.
Oh, yeah, I mean, the idea here is to be transparent and to communicate.
And let everybody
Absolutely.
see what's going on.
I
Yeah.
think that's a great idea, Larry.
Okay, that's a really good one, and you're right, it's short money compared to what we're talking about. It's almost $36 million budget. I mean, we got to communicate what it is.
And like we said, we want people to see this stuff. And nickel diming it at the last minute just doesn't work.
Okay. So why don't we, now that we figured out how we're going to solve the problem with print, why don't we move on to content and kind of stay on that as the subject? So what I feel comfortable doing after we talk about, the superintendent and the school board recommended this budget to us is breaking down what's in the budget. And so that's where the pie chart comes in, and that's where the summary comes in. In the addendum that, where Larry put together all that information, what I did instead of going in and proofing all your typing, I can't believe how much typing you did. I can't believe. I mean, there was so much work, Larry. There was a lot of work. Well, what I did was make copies of the original presentation and just to cut and paste so that we don't have to proof it.
And I also told Tom this, I said, we plagiarized your presentation.
Right.
And he said, fine. So I
No
didn't want him
transposition errors,
surprised.
no,
Yeah, no chance of doing that. And just so you all know, Michelle is going to also go through it all, and she's going to proof everything and all the numbers, so before the public hearing. I told her, we want another set of eyes on this.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So if we go through that summary, and then we have the pages in the addendum that break down the details in those summaries, so people can refer to that as they want to.
I'm confused as to what the addendum was, because I thought these things that you have all these details was going to be the addendum. How is the addendum different than what's here?
Well, we have a thing, there is a PowerPoint in there called the addendum, and it has all the detail of the breakdown of exactly what's in the Bakey budget changes, and the memorial budget changes, and the middle school budget changes. Do you remember when we discussed all those a couple weeks ago?
is it worth a footnote on a slide like this to say this is a high-level summary, refer to the addendum for the cost-based specific?
We can either do it that way, Mary, or we can
I
have when
just
the
say it,
people,
that's one of
when
the
the
two.
person is talking,
Well,
refer
what
them right back.
That's fine.
What I'll do is refer them to, which ones
Right.
on the,
addendum,
in their
yeah.
addendum, and kind of walk them through, to refer back and forth to that, to
But
say,
you're not going to spend any detail going over that.
right.
You're just going to
Just
say
for reference.
the detail for this high-level,
Boom, I agree. That's the best way. Otherwise, you're going to be sitting there digging a hole and
Right. Okay. So then the critical budget additions, is that complete, a complete list of what we want in there?
I'm not certain where we came up with the word critical. They're budget additions.
Okay, that was a superintendent's word.
Critical is a highly pejorative word. I mean, some people could argue,
What would you suggest
Say
instead?
I would just say budget additions.
I agree with Jim.
Okay, budget additions it is.
I think that'd be great. Just keep it simple, keep it
Yeah.
straightforward, and nobody gets into
no
trouble.
slant.
Yeah, that critical really, it pops up to your eye and say, what is that?
Well,
What-
It's editorializing.
Okay, good. We'll take
And
take that out, that's
This is
good.
what we're here for.
Okay, so on this current slide 6, I will have referred them to the addendum slides that they can look at, okay? So that they can go back and forth. I'm not going to walk them through all
No.
those. That's just going to be there. Then if we go on to 8, and I don't know where we are.
Hey, Jim, what are you doing?
That's then our proposal. So basically.
By the way, slide 6 should have a total.
Okay. So what are you saying? It should have a total of all the changes? Just at the
Right,
bottom?
because people are going to see this slide and assume that this is the entire recommended budget increases. When you come to the next one, or budget additions, when you come to the next one, many of those items are duplicated but have no numbers on them. So I
Okay,
joke you public, I'm sitting in the audience, I go, okay, 16 and 11 is 25, and I add that all up in my mind, add it to last year's budget, that's this year's budget.
okay, and this does add up to the 974,000.
Right, but it needs to show that
Tie it
on.
out.
Okay. Total,
Because people in the audience are going to start, you're going to be talking, and people are going to be
adding.
adding.
Okay, so,
And you could refer to it as total additional requested funding or.
Right. So if you get rid of the
Yeah.
first column with the plus minus change, just add minus signs to the numbers in the middle column And a total, shift Bakey over and label the last one total.
Instead of change? Is that what you're saying?
The first on the left-hand side will be Bakey. The last one on the right-hand side will say total.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay, so the total plus and the total minus and then the total.
Because in accounting,
Shift them
you,
to the left
Got it.
and then put a total
Got
column on the
it,
right.
got it, okay. I got it. Okay, that's good, I can do that. Then 7 we're done with. 8 is kind of compromise budget, final consensus. I don't know, are those the words that we want to use? What words do we want to use? We do have a consensus budget. Final agreed on budget by
I would
both
say
parties.
that, final agreed on. It's not really, yeah, Jim's right, it's not an agreed on budget. It's a, God, what word would you use?
there is no point in statute for either a compromise or a consensus budget.
No,
The budget committee prepares the budget, period.
right. And we accepted the school board suggestion that we add 70,000 to our original prepared budget.
That's neither here nor there. The budget committee presents its budget, period. Whether it's consensus reached through negotiation or consensus doesn't matter. The law stipulates we have an elected budget committee. The budget committee prepares the budget.
And it is labeled budget committee proposal.
Right. So it's like sausage.
How about if we use
They may
the
taste
word-
delicious, but nobody wants to see how they're made.
That's correct.
Because quite honestly, this could not disenfranchise, but you could have some people who are like, we elected you to prepare the budget. We didn't elect you to go back to the school board and go, is that acceptable?
But now, you know what? I think that that's not something that I think we were elected to try and come up with something that meets all the needs of the district. The school board defines the needs, and we define what the ability is of the people to pay and what we think needs to be funded for it. So I think it is something where we listen to what the school board and the superintendent have to say. I don't
About
think it's
something like this?
inappropriate at all.
This is the school budget, the budget committee's proposed budget, because it's still just a proposed budget with all changes. Something to that way, instead of saying we bounce back and forth between here, there, and everywhere. Because this is a proposed budget with changes that were made.
Want to say modified?
Modified, I like that word even better.
Modified
Instead of
proposed budget?
Okay, so instead of, school board asked for, requested
think
that
we
we
should
add
put that in there.
$70,000 to it? Or do we
Do we
want to
have
not
to really
even
even
have
put
it?
it in there? Let's, we suggested it to you, you guys agreed.
Yeah.
It's still your budget, like Jim says, it's the budget committee's budget.
Yep,
School board has nothing really to say here other than, we'll spend it, but you tell us how much we can spend.
so how about school board requested increase?
All right, I don't have a problem with that if you guys don't. I can't see where anybody would ask.
And then the final, what did we say, final? I'm sorry, I didn't write it down.
Modified proposed,
Modified proposed budget.
Okay.
That's all it is. It's just a modified proposed budget.
Okay,
The note at the bottom needs to be huge. This is the infamous, the fine print. And it's going to come back to haunt us if we don't make that very, very large print.
Actually, what we should do with this one right here at this point, whenever this comes out, this should be put in red or some other color to flash it at you, get your attention. Because then even the size wouldn't matter. The color would get you down there to look at it.
The numbers should be the size of where it says budget committee proposal, like Jim said. We don't need the title of the slide that huge. We need these numbers. And the fact that this does not include the contracts or warrant articles needs to be a point that people understand.
On any
we've
page
got it
where
in here many
appears.
times.
Right, on any page where it appears.
I think that's why it should be in red, just, that'll catch everybody's attention and let them, this is important, we need to remember this.
Okay, I can make that bigger, and it won't be in red on their handouts, because the handouts are
Yeah,
going to be just
it's all black and white, but
Yeah,
it's,
okay,
if they look up at the screen, they can sit there and see that it is red or something.
right.
I kind of reformatted it on page 3, slide 7, and just kind of lined stuff up, lined the numbers up. And the note is bigger, and the budget committee proposal is, the title is smaller.
I like the percentages in parentheses.
What'd you say?
I like the percentages in parentheses. It makes it more clear that that is.
Okay,
And with the numbers kind of lining up, you can kind of see how it adds up.
yeah, I think it needs to be on a chart rather than, this is kind of in a Word thing, and I'll put it in a chart so that it lines up better. Okay, okay, good. Then the history of the budget is the next thing. And I think I'd rather have this more black and white. I don't,
But yeah, it definitely has to be black and white.
It does.
yeah,
And there's some inconsistency with the size of the font. Like the in superintendents is like a smaller, it looks weird.
what?
No, those are all.
Those are all the same.
Yeah,
They're the same.
the font is the same.
The font's the same.
The presented tonight, it's all caps.
No, in the word superintendents,
On page
Yeah.
9,
That's the same size font as the line that says Budget Committee Initial Proposed.
Please remember this is on a Google Doc, so things aren't lined up the way they are in the PowerPoint. You know, the Google slides don't have the same the formatting doesn't come over the same. So you're not looking at the way it really looks. You know,
well, I'm looking at it in PowerPoint.
Mine looks fine on this
Really?
screen. But I would also recommend you carry through the percentages, the percent change in parentheses.
got that. I made a note of that. Okay, okay. And then the budget details, slide 10. And again, that goes to, you know,
Is that covered in the addendum? Is this a
It is.
duplication of?
Yeah.
it is, but these are the changes that, you know, from the superintendent's request to what we proposed, you know, the $70,000, or what'd we come down by? 200 and, no, it's up by 216, something like
Yeah.
that, yeah. I think it was like 175,000. I can't remember how much it is. I don't have the exact number. But we brought it down by a certain amount. So this is kind of where the details are of the changes that we made to his budget. So this
Should
is,
those be totaled? As Jim recommended in the prior tie out to,
it is totaled. It is totaled. You have total schools there for the superintendents.
oh, there it is, I'm sorry. Yep.
And then if you go to the next, I don't know why my computer keeps shutting down here. And then if you go to the next slide, 11, that's kind of everything else that's in there. And then if you go to 12, it takes the totals from the schools, other than the schools, and then the health insurance, food, and so forth, everything else, and gives the total. So it's kind of on 3 different slides. Okay?
The 224,490.
Yeah, but I can put the percentages in, again, in parentheses. Do you want them underlined too, or just in parentheses?
I think just parentheses shows, especially using the percent sign
It sticks
in
right
the
out,
format, it shows that it's noting change, consistently so.
Okay. Then we
Can
go.
we use some minus signs?
instead of red.
Instead of red, yeah.
We certainly will have minus signs in the pass outs.
Okay, well, it's just, there are some plus signs on here, but there are no negative signs.
Okay, so you want a minus sign along with the red.
Right there.
Got it, okay.
That's a simple formatting thing.
Yep, can do that. Yep, easy enough to do. Good idea. And then on the district, on number 11, I don't have any plus signs on there, so to be consistent, I'll add in the pluses or the minuses. I guess those are all minuses. So that'll all be red and with minus signs. Okay?
Yep.
On page 11.
Slide 11, yep.
Yeah, and then 12, the same thing. So our budget detail, we are actually 224,000 less than the superintendent's, and it's 269,000, I think, more than the default budget is what I think the numbers are.
Yep.
Okay, then we've got the cost per student, which, we've been over and that hasn't changed. That okay?
It is
Nobody's
okay.
ever going to read those labels.
Yeah.
And again, that's where, I'm going to make them bigger. I've noticed that. And also, I know that we've already discussed that, and so I'll make them bigger, but also, with the paper that we're going to talk about, it'll be a lot easier for people to read. It's not going to be on that small little size. We've already kind of dealt with the sizes.
And where our data compares with others, you've got the down arrow to show the applicable
That's Sanborn.
column.
Yeah.
If there's a way above or below our data-specific stuff for Sanborn that we could make that number, we can see graphically where it falls compared to the others, but I think it's important maybe to know what our cost per pupil.
The numbers will be going in there. I can't see them on mine either. It just says value. Even when I enlarge it.
Mine shows a number.
Well,
Yours does?
on my screen, it's actually approximately the size that it will print out at 2 per page. Because that's the,
Are you looking at the Google slide, or are you looking at the
I'm looking at
PowerPoint?
the Google slide.
Okay, so please remember, the Google slide doesn't look like the PowerPoint. It's a lot more readable on the PowerPoint.
Oh, okay, because I cannot even,
No, you can't see it at all.
And we have the left axis, showing the dollar value. Mm-hmm. And it shows clearly that the down arrow is pointing to the Sanborn data. But if there's a way to bold and only put our number, say, the 17.
How about this? How about if I put in a text box on top of the arrow in each one of these and put the number in with, like 18 point or something, or
Right.
20 point or something like that?
I think that'd be good. I think that'd be-
Because
I
the
don't
other
think we
ones,
need them for all the other schools. Personally, I don't think we need them for all the other comparable
Just
schools
for
because we
ours.
can see visually
Right, they can
where
compare
we're
them,
above
they'll
or
see right
below.
here.
I think what's important is what is our cost per student, and I would do it just.
possibly just a straight line that goes across. On the Google Docs, there are 2 lines at 17,500.
that's not on the PowerPoint.
Well, I was just going to say, if there was a line that showed where Sanborn, the top of Sanborn, and one could see the other schools, how close to that line they come.
Okay. And, obviously I'm going to do this. We're not going to meet again. We're going to have the public hearing. And then we are going to meet and, for the deliberative, we can do whatever changes we
Pop and
need to do.
polish,
So, okay, so, this is kind of a practice one. Practice and hearing what the people have to say about it. Okay, so if we go on to the estimated taxes to be raised,
It's like we have to get past these.
that's number
Yeah, that-
17.
yeah.
Is this the new one? Because mine says
Yes,
tax
it's-
impact to towns.
No, this
this
is
is
the new one that I started at 3:30 this afternoon after I got Michelle's numbers. So what she gave me is, I did 2 things. One is there's a proposed budget and the default budget, and then there's estimated revenues that are coming from other than taxes. And I made a couple of addendum sheets with the details of those revenues.
Tuition and
Tuition
Federal
and
funding.
food and
Yeah.
federal funding and
Yeah.
state funding and, all that kind of thing. And then the balance is the amount to be raised in taxes, which is the bottom line there. And then the next slide, if you just take a look at these so that you can see what you think. The next slide has some of the detail. And again, these are just the totals. I hate the formatting on this. Honestly, this is not the way it looks on PowerPoint. But these are the numbers that are the totals where it's broken down in the addendum. So the tuition is, the tuition, it combines preschool with Fremont and so forth. And then, summer programs and all that kind of thing. And then the state revenues have the adequacy grant and the CAT aid and all that kind of thing.
all of that's in the addendum.
That's all in the addendum. And the federal revenue is the same thing.
And again, on the bottom of that slide, you've got tax impact of other warrant. It does not include, and that needs to be big and same format as it's flashing on the other.
Right, yeah. This other financing sources subtotal, this is pretty interesting, I think. Not only have we had we know that we have 400 and some thousand that has to go into the default budget. We also have lower revenues that are going to be coming in by about $750,000. One of the reasons for that is that we've gradually tightened the budget over the last few years. And so we've had from, 1.2, that kind of thing. Last year we had $1.5 million
Return to tax.
that was unspent, largely because they froze the budget because they were afraid of a special ed situation that was going to require a lot of money. At this point, Michelle is estimating, instead of having $1.5 million left over in unspent money, having $750,000. So that's, it's less money plus it's a higher budget. So the combination is going to result in some tax increases.
And is there a school board warrant article that's going to propose that any surplus be put into a?
I haven't seen, I've heard rumors to that effect, but that's all.
We haven't seen any warrant articles yet.
No warrant articles until, yeah.
We haven't seen warrant articles, contracts.
I believe
Contracts, I can tell you all, the negotiations are complete. They've been approved. We're just waiting for the final signature and everybody to say, yeah, we agree. And then it'll be public. That's about all I can say right now, but we did good. I think we did, didn't we, Jim?
Okay, so that's a big deal, and I have to
That
really.
needs to be articulated.
Yes.
I don't think you're going to be able to express that graphically.
No, and I really do need to articulate it, and I just got that information today, so I'm still kind of processing how to.
The good news is,
Yeah, right. How to do that. I mean, there is a thing that, this last year in Newton, our tax rate went down by $1. And it was all the schools. I don't know, in Kingston, because of your revaluation, it's kind of hard to do a year-to-year comparison. But so if we look at Newton, because it's the same, year-to-year, the same base, the same valuation, that dollar is kind of, half of it is basically kind of being given back to the schools or the
from the
tax.
schools.
Well, we're going to get half of that dollar as a credit next year. Yeah. So what that means is a net increase of 50 cents
Yep.
on the tax rate, right there. And somehow I have to think
Well,
about
the good news is
how to
that
save it.
you're getting what you asked for,
Right.
a needs-based budget.
Yeah.
The bad news is it's not going to be a big kickback
Right.
that we've been accustomed to in recent years. And that just means that we're running an efficient
Yes.
cost center.
Right.
That we froze the budget last year.
Pardon me?
The budget was frozen last year?
Yes.
in February.
Yeah, for about a half, a little
About
less
half
than
of the
half the
school
year,
year.
yeah.
The reason being is that they were worried about a special ed coming in. 3 of them, I guess, or something like that.
It probably would have been about, 900,000 without freezing it.
Which is more traditional. The 1.5 was, the only thing I have is I'm assuming that on your actual slide, the other financing sources subtotal, on my slide, it's the same number in both columns.
It is the same. And that's what Michelle gave me, and I want to ask her about that because it doesn't seem like that's what they should be planning for
right
in
down
this
to the
current budget.
483 does not.
It doesn't seem like, I think that's something that she's going to
A
be.
placeholder?
She's going to be changing, or,
Okay.
might be a place, I'm not sure. I want to just make sure that that's the number that's on the MS 24 for projection for this year.
It's projected, so.
Right.
Yeah, it's just, I just wanted to double check it to make
It
sure.
says
'cause-
revenues are estimated and subject to change.
Right. However, the actual from 17-18 and the projected 18-19 are the same number.
Right. And we just need to verify that that's actually so. I got these numbers from her.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that they're right. She's been working on it, so. Then the taxpayer impact is,
Tiny.
6.4% for the proposed budget for Kingston and 6.8% increase for Newton. This is state and local, or it's the state education amount and the local tax. So this is combined. And then the default budget is a percent less in both cases, 5.4 and 5.8%.
That might need to be 2 separate slides. I know it's nice
Yeah.
to juxtapose it, but that's a lot squeezed in there.
Okay.
Like estimated
it's-
taxpayer impact proposed, estimated taxpayer impact default.
Okay.
Only because that's a busy slide.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice to juxtapose them so that you can see.
Yeah.
And it can be articulated too, that it's a full percent difference.
Well, here's another thing that I could do, and think about this. Have the Kingston, Newton for the 2 different ones juxtaposed, and then the $300,000 house on a second slide.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that way you've got the
Actually,
contrast.
$300,000 house is going up what?
Is that okay? Okay, good. All right.
$53.
Actually, I think that'd be a lot easier to explain, too.
Yeah.
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 Then just the budget committee, school board and superintendent support this budget proposal, and then the next steps, the finalization of the budget.
Can I ask you something? This
Yeah.
is one thing that jumped out at me when I was scrolling through. Support this budget proposal. I see that as a directive. It jumps out at me as a directive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Much, prejudicial.
It's definitely.
Do you have it on the right-hand side, the support this budget proposal? Yeah, okay, because originally when it formatted for me, it was on the left-hand side, and it really looked like a directive
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, but the fact that it's in a shaped text box, and I think the message is that everybody, bless you, everybody that worked on this supports this.
How about if we said budget proposal is supported by budget committee, school board,
Yeah,
superintendent?
I mean, I think,
That's not, yeah, I read it that way too.
Okay.
When I saw it, and then I read the stuff on the other side, and it made sense in my mind, but.
Okay,
this budget proposal is supported by, and then boom, boom, boom.
okay. I'd rather say the budget committee, I'd rather use an active instead of a passive word, but the same thing, just the budget committee, school board, and superintendent support this budget, but just have it formatted differently. I'd just rather have active instead of passive words, if that's okay. Yeah.
And it should be throughout, actually, everything should be active throughout. You shouldn't have some that are passive.
Right, yeah. I don't think there are, but if there are, I'll look and see. And then this last one is clearly one that we're going to be changing. I I don't know why my computer keeps doing this.
Bless you.
Bless you. Get Rick in here. What's going on?
I have a lifesaver for Fidgety Larry.
You're a lifesaver.
Yes, you are.
I do. I changed out my voice.
This is my 4 o'clock wake-up call. A little late.
Clearly, this last one is going to be one which we're going to be changing after the deliberative. On the 17th, we're going to be changing it for the deliberative. So, come up with something different there. I've got some work to do. I will send it out to everybody, and happy to hear what you have to say. But we won't be meeting to go over it again before then. If you open up the addendum, I'd like you to take a look at that if you would. And it's the one that says AC 1-3. Everybody there? Come back.
Should we open with Google Slides?
Yes. And this one shouldn't have really a lot of problem with formatting, but it may, because I did do it in PowerPoint. So all it is details of the superintendent's original recommendations. And here's the summary of the ones, and this is basically the same slide as we have in, it's the same thing, but then it's broken down for the Bakey school requests. This formatting is horrible in here, but it's not the way it looks on PowerPoint, honestly. I don't like Google much.
I like the idea of this addendum. I think this is gonna.
What?
I think this was a smart move to create this addendum.
We've always given supporting documents.
I couldn't hear you. What'd you say?
Oh, I said during my tenure on the school board, there was always a packet called supporting documents.
Ah.
It was. Huh?
Yeah, I don't know where it disappeared.
Well, we're bringing it back.
The only, Larry, thank you for typing all of this in. The only thing I would suggest is somebody needs to go through and make sure that there are always commas to separate thousands and hundreds.
Actually, what I was doing, I was trying to do it as fast as I could. And I said, heck,
Okay, just so you all know, this is no longer Larry's typing. This is taking the superintendent's picture and changing it. So if he doesn't have commas, it doesn't have commas.
Okay.
Okay? So honestly, I'm not going through and putting in commas.
I don't blame.
Just not going to do it.
I would guess that maybe 10% of the people will actually refer to the addendum.
Yeah. But it's detail that they can have. So we'll go through Memorial. I'm up to 6 is the middle school. And middle school doesn't, Bakey didn't have any reductions. It only had some increases.
Right, so the Memorial.
And then 8, 9, 10, I think, are all the high school ones. A lot.
Yes.
A lot on there. And then the student services overview. And, I went through, how we talked about it the last time we met, and Cheryl, you had the same thing. It was kind of trying to figure out where those numbers were. Sure. I just took a screenshot of what the superintendent had. And then if we look at number 12, that's more just screenshot. And then so's number 13 with the technology. And then the capital is number 14. That's also a screenshot. And then this, the revenue detail from local sources, this has to be the color removed. So just know that I'm aware of that. But here's the detail on the revenue.
Could those numbers be increased to match, like where it says tuition?
Yes.
It'd be nice if all the numbers were the same size and bolded like tuition.
Okay, they are actually on the PowerPoint.
Oh, okay.
But you wouldn't
I
know
can
that.
only go by what I see.
I know,
here.
I got it, I got it. No, I agree with you. I agree with you. It's just, I really dislike this. Also, on the PowerPoint, I'd already removed this color, so I don't know why the color is there, so it's really weird. But I think it's worth for us together to look at this revenue detail because we haven't seen this before tonight. So there's the total of the local sources. And then if you go to the next one, it's the state. And those are pretty much flat, but all other state sources, she's just using 25,000. Whereas in the current one, it's 127,000. And then in the federal sources of revenue, that's all pretty, pretty flat. But then in slide 18,
Can we go back?
yes, which
Federal
one?
sources?
Yes.
How does the budget committee have estimated revenues?
These are from the superintendent's
Michelle.
office. This is from Michelle. She has to fill out a form called an MS-24, I think it is, and file it with the state. Actually, the MS-24 is for the one that's being done right now. There's another form, MS something or other,
For the
that
estimate.
she has to do it might be the MS-27. I think it's the
27 or
27.
25, I can't remember.
25?
27 is the one that we have to do.
But that's one that we have to sign after the deliberative. But she does the
Where do those
revenue.
numbers come from that says budget committee's estimated revenues?
That's what she called it. It's from the superintendent's office, so maybe it should be business administrators' estimated revenues?
Or
Yeah, 'cause we don't-
district estimated revenues.
It's
District.
very confusing.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
It's the
Okay,
district.
so I'll put district in there. That's good. Yeah, again, I just did a copy and paste of her stuff, so thank you. And then page 4 of that, which is slide 18. There's the one with the other financing sources at the bottom.
Where the number is the same, just a placeholder.
And this is where that number of fund balance to reduce the taxes, that's the one that we need to kind of ask her to say, is that what you've got on that MS-24? And,
So once again, that needs to be the district's estimated revenues.
yeah, on all of those.
All
Yeah.
3 of those.
Yeah, I think there are 4 of them altogether. Yep. So that's it on the addendum.
But you've already changed it on slide 16.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, just to remind myself so that I would go through and do it.
I would suggest on slide number 1 that we put the year's budget on there.
Yeah, and slide number what?
2000 Yeah,
Slide which one?
number 1.
Way back
That
at
it
the top.
says 2019-20 budget presentation addendum.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
That last slide, the numbers definitely have to be reviewed because people,
Yeah, they're both the same there, Jim. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, they're
Cheap, yeah.
I think for lack of a more scientific approach, she was putting a placeholder in there.
yeah, well, that's what I'm assuming. I would hope
And if she
that
has
they're,
no further qualification of that, you need to put a big asterisk next to it and say, this is going to change. It's not likely to change. It's going to change, and it's
yeah,
Um,
because we didn't have, in 2017-18, there wasn't $1.5 million returned,
which slide are you on?
the very last
18.
one. Other revenue sources?
Uh-huh.
You know,
Yes, fiscal year 17-18, that's when we did get the $1.5 million back. That's when our taxes went down by $1 in Newton.
right, so that's 17-18.
The
Do we-
current year,
Do we know that the current year there's going to be,
she's saying it's going to be about half of that, right? You said earlier.
yeah, that's what she said. So that's why I'm wondering, this number doesn't seem like it's right here. I
well,
think,
yeah, it sounds like that number needs to shift over, because I doubt there's going to be leftover in the, this is interesting. The the fund balance surplus to reduce taxes is $30,000. I apologize, I just realized that it's, where it says other financing sources, enlarge the word subtotal. Because quite honestly, the blue is very difficult to read, and I missed the word subtotal.
That blue's not going to be there, and it wasn't when I
Right.
formatted it at
Okay.
home, but somehow it came over this way.
Okay.
So I
my
probably
apologies.
didn't
I'm looking at
send
it.
the right one
I
over.
missed the word subtotal. No,
Okay.
it's a little blurry to me
Okay,
because I was trying to figure out why on earth are all these numbers the same going across.
well,
Yeah, it's
yeah, I think that, I mean, if she's filed the 1,504,483 on the MS-24, then that's the number, but I don't know. I just wanted to go back and look at it and look at the MS-25 the year before.
yeah.
So that we can just make sure those numbers are correct.
But would those be estimates?
The,
If it's the current year?
Yes.
We don't know what
It
they
would be
are.
estimates until,
Right, they have to be
Actions come
estimates
out.
until she files
Yeah,
the
it's
actual.
confusing where it says revised revenues, current year.
okay.
Maybe another
Revised,
word to-
it probably should say revised estimated
Estimate, I
revenues.
do put the word estimate.
But why would they be
Yeah.
revised? Wouldn't they just
Yeah.
be estimated?
Yeah, I just,
Yeah, it's the
right.
first
that
time
would
we're
be
seeing them.
estimated is,
No.
It's the first time we're seeing them, but it's not the first time that they're seeing
filed.
them, that they're filed. They filed them, I'm not sure of the exact timing, maybe you know, but after the budget's approved, then the school board accepts, puts together and says how they want to spend the money, how they want to appropriate it.
Cheryl, I'm sure remembers, once the budget is approved, the school board actually has to sit down and allocate any changes.
Mm-hmm.
Then that's when they sign I believe it's the MS-27.
that's what I thought.
That gets signed someplace usually, and that I believe has to be submitted by April 15th.
Okay. I know there's the MS-27 that we do, that we sign, and it
Right.
has the revenues in it. And I think this revision in the MS-24 is revisions from the MS-27, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, there was always one that we had to come in and sign off, it was an off
At
period.
the last minute, you get called in to sign it, to send it off.
Right,
Yeah,
but what the voters need to know is that is an estimated figure.
that is.
They don't,
Yeah.
they don't
It's-
necessarily care or need to know that it was a revised estimate, just that it's
Just put
simply
estimate.
not final.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
what's key, I
I
think.
wonder if that's the language that's used in that paperwork.
might
And
be.
whoever does that understands it, but like you said, Mary, the people reading this don't understand
Well,
what that
what that MS form, I believe, is the revised budget with the results of anything that happened at the deliberative session and then at voting.
Okay.
Because one gets sent to DRA right around now.
The MS-27 is the one after the deliberative, and we have
Okay.
to sign it and the school board has to sign
Right.
it. So then,
After the vote, because.
the
if
vote in March,
Right.
right?
If they end up with the default budget, the school board has to go, okay, well, we really need to fund that, which is not part of the default. So where are we going to take it from? And it's the same type of breakdown. At that point, the state may have some numbers for us that the revenues would be revised, though I don't remember ever seeing any changes to the revenues.
But I think that's the MS-24 after the March vote.
Yeah,
The
it would
budget
make sense
committee
that it would
doesn't
be
sign that one.
The MS-29 because it comes.
At any rate, it's a moving target, and that's one of the things that.
And that one, the school
you know-
board, that's in the school board's purview.
That's one of the things that, Michelle wanted to make sure that we did put on is that these are not final numbers, that these are estimated numbers and that they are subject to change. So, I need to add that onto each one of this 15 through 18 and possibly other ones too.
Yeah, I would just call it estimated
Estimated.
revenues because
Yeah.
Okay. Revised estimated revenues, current fiscal year.
just
Current
make
year.
it
I
should
just
be
make it
estimated.
estimated.
Yes, we
revenues and let
get
it go
rid of
with that.
revised.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Annie, I know you copied this from Superintendent Ambrose's presentation.
Which one?
The whole data,
Excuse me.
data kind of. And you were talking about commas, and some of the numbers are shown as whole numbers. Some of them are shown as currency.
Yeah, that's that.
No uniformity to it.
Right, like slide 2 shows the superintendent's requested budget summary, and it's not shown as currency. It's shown as whole numbers.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know you copied and pasted it.
I copied and pasted it, and I really, honestly do not want to get
All right.
into typing it all out. It's subject to too many errors. I just don't want to do it.
Which one are you saying has no?
And I also
I'm just
don't see
saying-
that as our job as budget committee to
Right,
do. I just don't. So,
I was just saying, looking at slide 2, like there's no
Slide 2.
in the addendum. It's
All
just-
right, put it this way, it's in currency on the bottom line.
Right,
It's not in currency on any other part.
and it's in the capital column, but not the others. I just think
Right.
it's.
and the reason it is because that's the way it's presented in the budget presentation. I mean, that's the data that we've got, that we were given.
Right.
Well, this is almost an exact copy of the one, because
This-
the Y in technology is, I mean, that's driving me up a wall. But that is the same slide that's in the presentation. So,
Right, we're not proofreading here.
I just
get
fixed
it.
your Y in technology so that you're not
Wow.
driven up a wall.
And I get that we're not proofreading, but I think maybe just some kind of a qualifying disclaimer as you're giving the verbal walkthrough, is to say, please note that the addendum items were copied directly from the superintendent's proposed budget, formatting everything so that we wouldn't risk any transposition errors, and to make sure you're getting the accurate information. And then just leave it at that.
Okay.
You know what I
think
mean?
that's ideal.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And without finger pointing.
But
and
it
without
also does
making
another
any-
thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It shows that we read the superintendent.
Yes.
We agreed with, well, we got the facts, and we're giving you, the people.
Passing it on.
Exactly the same thing that we got.
Yeah.
in a
But I
statement.
think that way it just covers the fact that to a proofreader or an editor or anybody,
Yeah.
that it might look a little sloppy, and just say, it's without pointing fingers and causing,
well, you have to put yourself in the mindset of the person that is actually going to read the addendum. Those are going to be the people that actually crunch numbers for either a living or,
right. And it's
believe it or
going to
not,
make
you
them
can do it
crazy.
for fun.
And if the columns don't line up and things aren't,
Oh, yes.
These are, but please know that this is not the formatting that's going to be that's on the PowerPoint.
No, but I'm just saying,
you know.
anything that looks askew or out of,
Yeah.
It does two things. One, it covers us. Two, is lets people know that this is the information we got. We are showing you exactly what we
we
had to
didn't
work
bend or
with.
spindle it or anything. This
We
is
did
it.
not hide anything.
No.
It's right there.
And before you talked about the commas, or right after on slide 12, same thing. There's a number at the top that's shown in whole numbers, and then everything else has got, the currency on it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a takeaway for next year's proposed budget
Well, yeah, and it's something we can,
that Phyllis can work on.
I just took the colors out of the 15 through 18, just so.
you missed the year we had a public hearing in Newton, and there was a sign on the wall. They were doing a penny collection or something. And in big letters, it was dollars for homeless. And they had misspelled dollars.
Was this a student-driven initiative?
Excuse me?
Was it a student-driven initiative?
I don't care, it was middle school. They should be able to spell the word dollars.
Well, and not only that, but their teachers or advisors should have caught it.
It's,
so,
it's
yeah.
up there on the wall, and every single person, because I was standing at the checklist, when people came in, they kept going,
Something wrong.
that's a problem with education.
No, I get it.
Yeah, I mean, it was beautifully, and it was, it wasn't, somebody did it with crayons and magic markers. This was like printed outside. So that means that they had
Paid
to.
money for it.
No. They printed that out on the computer, but they had obviously, nobody had looked at the, the green, those little red underlines and green underlines that appear on the screen.
Coming
Are
down
you?
with something.
Almost done.
We are almost done. You got a bad cold?
Yeah,
Oh, dear.
I think it's Larry's fault.
Okay, so let me
I'll
let
tell
you
you what,
guys
I've
know
had this
that
since
I know
November.
I've got a lot of work to do, and I will do it, and I will get it out to you, and please look at it and make sure that I got everything, because that's the only way I'm gonna know for sure that I did. I'll do my best to make sure I get it all in, but, it is a team effort, so. Yeah, yes.
Google stuff is just.
Yes, I will send it as an attachment in an email as a PowerPoint. Yeah, that's good. And Jack, you can't open those, so,
Yeah, I don't know why, I got something wrong with my PC, I don't know what it is.
but what I can do too is I'll make a PDF of it so that you
Okay.
can open it.
All right.
I was just going to say, please send me a PDF.
Okay, I'll do the
I
PDF
don't
and the
drag this thing
PowerPoint.
around everywhere.
Okay, and I'm going to make a copy without any colors or formatting for, the pass outs.
And it's gonna be double-sided.
Yep,
That's your.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
and you if you use a portrait, you should be able to fit 2 pages and still be legible.
yeah.
I'll make a
These,
suggestion.
yeah.
Make one copy first and see what it looks like before you make 100.
That was just going to be my follow-up, because
Yeah, I'll come in and I'll sit with Michelle, and then I'll
Yeah.
sit with Phyllis, and we'll make the copies, and we'll kind of figure it out. So, we'll do the work to figure out how to do it.
When is the next time we meet?
We meet
Next Thursday.
next
right?
Thursday for the public hearing.
So it is,
And
I
then it
wasn't
won't
sure the
stop.
date of the public.
Yeah,
hearing.
next
Exactly.
Thursday, it's at 7:00 for the public hearing. And then our next meeting after
Meeting
that,
here?
I'm not sure where it's going to be.
public hearing is in the
It's usually in the
I
auditorium.
think it's going to be in the auditorium.
Theater.
I know one year it
Stop,
was
Jack.
Yeah,
in
it
a
was, where
smaller
was it,
room,
at the
but,
high
yeah.
school, where was it, at the?
Yeah, we had it at the middle school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, per the warrant article, advisory warrant article.
It would be nice.
Then our meeting after that would be the 17th, which would be to take the information from the public hearing, see if we want to make any changes to our budget proposal, and, vote again on our budget proposal, and that would be for the, and then on that last slide, I think when we talk about this is supported, I think we want to put the votes of, if it's 8-0, or if it's 6-2, or whatever it is, I think we need to have those votes on there, and the same for the school board as far as their approval.
And we're going to be reviewing the warrant articles maybe in 2 weeks or next.
Yeah, I was just going to say,
Yes.
many warrant articles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things, I remember a couple of years ago, and the warrant article's almost done, but I want your opinion on this. Okay, we'll get you in a second. On the warrant articles, remember that we voted, and then the budget was changed at the deliberative session, and the budget committee was told, you can't change your votes? And that was not accurate, but that was something that was told, and we can change our votes after the deliberative session, should we want to.
Yes,
That's
after
the
the
vote to
delivery,
recommend or not to
but not
recommend.
before.
Right, recommend or not to
Is
recommend.
that the moderator that finds?
No, that was our former superintendent who
Superintendent,
decided
Yeah,
that
he
we
just-
weren't allowed to vote anymore.
Yeah.
But he came out with some sheet that was, it was either a legal opinion or a
Yeah.
copy out of the RSA book. That,
Yeah, it's-
or at
I've
least
seen
it
nothing
looked-
in the RSA book that says
Oh,
that you can't vote.
I went through the NHMA and they were like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we will have our votes on the 17th for all of these. However, after the deliberative, we will have an opportunity, if anything changes, to vote again. So just so everybody is clear on that.
So
So,
next
okay.
Thursday is the public hearing,
Yes.
and then the following Thursday, we're going to meet. Are we going to do that meeting, sometimes we do in the back room afterwards, after the public hearing?
That's
or are we
after
gonna
the
do it on the
deliberative
17th?
session.
That's usually after the deliberative.
Yeah, because that's one.
Yeah,
thing to sign the
because
paperwork and everything.
after the deliberative session, the ballot has to be to the printer by Friday in order to be in on time, because it has to be key coded and all that stuff. So if we want to change our
Your
vote to recommend or not to recommend, we have to do that immediately.
No, I was talking about after the public hearing, we consider the comments and we could make changes.
We do that on the
We'll
17th,
do that on the 17th, all right.
yeah. And also do any adjustments to our PowerPoint for the deliberative. Okay? Public comment.
Hi, Jim Baker Newton. You were talking about putting percentages in parentheses on a slide or more. And I didn't see the slide, so I don't know how it's going to look.
You don't want it to look like a decrease.
But in accounting, for the people who are going to look at this, that's one way to denote a negative number, is putting it in parentheses.
Yeah.
I
So
think we
just so
put-
you know that.
Yeah, I think we put plus in the parentheses. The
Or you
plus
could
is-
put dot, 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 and put the percentage and leave the percentage.
Well, it could be, and, you know,
Just write
again,
increase or decrease.
well, we're going to look at the, when it's on the PowerPoint, it might be, you know, a little more clear without having a parentheses. I mean, the idea is to make it clear and to have it there so that people can see it. So I'll play with it and I'll send it out and get your comments and we'll figure this out.
Easiest way might be to spell it out, increase or decrease. Don't leave it up to subjectivity or the color or the,
Could be a wise
parentheses.
idea. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Maybe we have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous.
thank you, everybody, good job.
Everybody, yep.